All right, welcome to another podcast. In this podcast, I'm going to give you my thoughts about a recent bass tournament scandal. Was this professional bass angler a cheater? Well, I'll let you guys figure that out. Now, I know some of you are wondering, why am I covering a ditch pickle tournament issue? Bass tournaments and catfish tournaments, they have similarities, but they are different as well. For example, catfish are more hardy than bass. I have actually seen this with my own eyes. I did a tournament a long time ago, and we were using a 100-gallon Mel's bait tank. We caught two 30-pound class fish right off the bat. Those fish were in the bait tank for 6 hours with nothing going on at all in the bait tank. I was actually asking the captain at the time to please turn on the bait tank. You know, these fish, they need some oxygen, but he wouldn't do it. Now, in the last 2 or 3 hours of the tournament, he finally gave in and turned on the bait tank. And I tell you what, once we got to the weigh-in, those fish were crazy. They were almost impossible to handle. Catfish, they're used to a lower oxygen environment. So when you have a catfish tournament, you don't have that many die. Now, bass, on the other hand, man, I tell you what, the last time a national bass fishing league came to Watts Bar, I don't know, 6 months ago, I'd launched my boat after their weigh-in and after they released all the fish. And I tell you what, there were dead bass everywhere. I had counted at least 12. There was possibly more, just floating dead bass. And this was supposed to be a national tournament where they're supposed to be taking care of their bass. So there is a little bit of a difference between them, but there are similarities, especially with rules and with one thing that I don't know. I don't know what I want to think about it, but it is polygraphs. Now, this was a professional bass angler, and they were disqualified after failing a truth verification examination with a polygraph. And it's my understanding that it was over getting pre-information to the area that you're going to fish. A polygraph test, I've never taken one. However, I have been in tournaments that have required it for the winners. I've been in tournaments where I've been in 15th place in a national tournament, and I've been in first place in a few local tournaments. And when I've been in first place, I didn't have to do a polygraph test. The national tournament, I don't know if they did or not on that one, but I know another one a long time ago, they did a polygraph test of the winner, and I don't think they're reliable. I don't feel that they're reliable. I know if I actually took a polygraph test, I bet I would fail on just them asking me, is Billy your name? And I would say yes, and it would fail me. I'm just that kind of a jitterish person. If I'm on a polygraph test, I'm going to be shaking, I'm going to be stressed out. It's just who I am. And I guarantee you I would fail one myself. This guy failed one, and then he went to an independent third party to take another one himself, and he passed it. So he was disqualified from the event and possibly more, and over a polygraph test. Now, on the thing of getting information on where fish are, what do you guys think? Should that be an actual rule? I mean, a local tells you, hey, the shad are in this cove, so you go to that cove. Should that be illegal? I mean, there's bigger, better fish to fry when it comes to tournaments, electronics. Panoptics, for one example. That gives you an unfair advantage. But if someone tells you, there's shad in a certain cove, how does that really give you an advantage? You still have to know what you're doing to actually catch fish. So I don't know. It's one of those things of, one YouTube video can accidentally tell you where to go. I know that there's people that watch my YouTube videos, and if they recognize where I'm catching fish, they're probably going to be there the next day. It is what it is. I understand it on YouTube, but, oh yeah, here we are, the night before you do a polygraph test, you're watching some YouTube videos and you get recommended the lake you're going to do a tournament at. You watch the video and you find out that it was done yesterday, and they're saying, and you recognize like the cove or something where they're fishing, and that's where the shad are. In this day and age, a rule like that to me doesn't make sense. Polygraphs, it's the same thing. They're not the best thing to have to go through. And I'd hate to end up doing a polygraph and failing it just because of who I am when I've hit like #1 in the Mississippi River Monsters, event or something, if I ever do that someday in the future. Now, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Dieter Melhorn did go in more depth on this on his own podcast. In fact, I will give an iCard above to one of his videos talking about this. He made multiple videos on it. He made the original video on it, and then he did an update when he found out that he had taken a polygraph test from a third party. It is an interesting thing to just, learn about. This was a couple of months ago that this had happened. But it is also kind of mind-blowing. So it's worth talking about. And I know it will make this a really short podcast because I don't have too much more to say about it. I mean, polygraph test? Really? And then the rule. They're both like, yeah, I'm sure some of you probably feel the same way, or like, yeah, that's a weird rule, and polygraph tests. How many of you think that you would fail a polygraph test just because you might be a little bit jittery or whatever? Just leave a comment below if you think you just, they'd ask you, what is your name? And then it would say that you're lying about your name. Yeah, fun times. When it comes to like polygraph tests or like some way to detect that you're lying, it's difficult. There's no other way to do it other than a polygraph. If these tournament directors got rid of polygraphs, what other tools do they have? They don't have any other tools. Now, we all know there's been other cheaters in the past, especially those walleye tournament cheaters. They were caught at weigh-in, and that's just because someone decided to open up their fish to see what's inside. And they found weights, they found walleye fish fillets, they found everything in those walleye, which those guys were winning for years and years. They made a lot of money, and you got to think about it. Did they take polygraph tests? So here they are cheating for years. They've made hundreds of thousands of dollars. They've won a boat. They've won gear, and they've probably been cheating the entire time. Did they take polygraph tests? I don't know. I probably should have looked it up before I did this podcast. But I figured I'd do that as an honorable mention because, that was another big, crazy tournament scandal. And those guys got the book thrown at them, which I totally agree. You don't put weights into the fish. That's really, really dumb. Did they get polygraph tests? If you know that they did, leave a comment below. I guarantee you that if they're winning a boat or if they're winning $100,000, there's got to be a polygraph test in there somewhere. And they passed it with flying colors, even though they were cheating really heavily. Another example that maybe, polygraph test isn't really that worth it. But it's better to stick, a microscope or a scope down a fish's mouth to see what's in the stomach. It'd be better to get one of those than to sit people down and see if they will pass a polygraph or not. Now, I guess this is me kind of ranting, a little bit on this one. I do want to hear your thoughts on it. Like I've said multiple times, leave a comment below. I don't do tournaments too much myself. It's mainly because I'm a fishing guide and I'm doing these YouTube videos. So I really don't have time to throw tournaments in there other than maybe every now and then. There is a possibility I might take part in a bank fishing tournament sometime in the future. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel and hit the thumbs up to show you like this video, and maybe hit the bell to get notifications. It's all up to you. Now, as always, I want to thank you for taking your time to watch or listen to this video. I really, really appreciate it. Like I said earlier, I just wanted to throw in my own 2 cents on this particular issue. Now all I need to do is figure out what other content I need to do for my podcast, because I am, as of right now, running out of ideas. So if you have any ideas for me, leave a comment below as well. I do have plans about talking about some of my local dams, which some of you wanted me to actually do after one of my other videos about the dams and the hurricane aftermath. So I will be taking my camera with me and doing that at some point in the future. I really don't know if I could consider that a podcast or not. I've already done it like twice already, where I've gone and just like did a talking head video of, what's going on, the hurricane thing. I don't know. I don't know if that's a podcast or not. I will have to think on that one. Anyway, thanks again for watching. I do hope to see you next time.